All right, this is the final lesson video for Unit 6 of Algebra 1. It's Lesson 10, and it is how to solve quadratic equations with the quadratic formula. In the notes, I have posted two images. One is of what's called the discriminant, which is a part of the quadratic formula, and then I've also posted the actual quadratic formula. And so we're going to talk through what these two are useful for, and then I'm going to actually also talk about how you can use graphing to solve these as well. So bear with me as I go through these explanations, but know that graphing is going to be kind of our fallback. So looking at the lesson, the quadratic formula is really just a rearranged version of the standard form equation. If you remember, ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. If I rearranged this and solved it for x, which I'm not going to go through that process because it is pretty complicated, I get the following equation. X equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac. Let me just fix that. Square root around all of that, all over 2a. So if I rearrange for x, solve this equation for x, this is what I get. And that is what we call the quadratic formula. And it's useful because I can find the solutions to equations using the quadratic formula to get the values for x, like the other examples we've been doing, but this time this is the method for this lesson. So we're going to work through one problem, and I'm going to talk about the discriminant as well, and then we're going to work through it using the quadratic formula. So let's say I have the following equation: x squared minus 3x minus 10. So equals 0. So if I were to, again, overlay the standard form equation, the first thing we do when we're doing the quadratic formula or the discriminant is we need to identify what a, b, and c equal. And a, b, and c are all the coefficients of the x's and then the constant term. So in mine, I have a 1 for a. So there's an imaginary 1 up here. I have negative 3 for b, and I have negative 10 for c. So when I take all that, this is what I get for a, b, and c. And I'm going to take those values, and we're going to do two things with them. We're actually going to first look at the discriminant, and we're going to talk about the meaning of the discriminant. The discriminant is just this portion of the quadratic formula, b squared minus 4ac. And the discriminant tells us what kinds of solutions we have, if any. So I'm going to hop over here and show you that when I solve for the discriminant, it tells us if it is less than 0, it tells me there are no solutions. You can see an example of a graph like that. If d equals 0, the discriminant equals 0, I have just one solution. You can see what that looks like on the graph there. And if d is greater than 0, then I have two roots or solutions, which you can see right there. So let's say we're going to do that with our example. Excuse me. And we're going to plug in these numbers, a, b, and c, into this formula here. So b squared is going to be negative 3 squared minus 4 times 1 times negative 10. So we work through this. Negative 3 squared is 9, because negative 3 times negative 3 is 9. Minus 4 times 1 times negative 10, that's negative 40. And since those are both negative, it ends up being 9 plus 40, or 49. So 49 is positive. And so that tells me, according to my rule, that this has two distinct real roots. It has two roots. So let's hop over here, and I'm just going to write that down on here to say that because it's 40, because 49 is greater than 0, 2 roots. All right, so that's what the discriminant's doing. And if you look at your lesson, the first 2 questions after the vocabulary are to do that. Find the discriminant and determine the number of x-intercepts, also known as roots. Okay, the answer is always 0, 1, or 2. You also need to identify the a, the b, and the c of your quadratic function. Same thing here, use the discriminant. So again, you use the formula b squared minus 4ac to get this number. Once you get the number, refer to the chart, and the chart will tell you whether there are no roots, 1 root, or 2 roots. All right, then the rest of these have you solve using the quadratic formula. It looks like there's 3 of them. So I'm going to work through an example of the quadratic formula, but then I'm going to show you how graphing can also work in our advantage as well. So let's go back here. We still have the same a, b, and c. Let's see if I can grab this actually. And can I copy that? No, that's okay. All right, we'll write it again. So we had the following formula. Let me just draw us a line here to separate. All right, so let's say we have our quadratic equation again, x squared minus 3x minus 10. We have our a, b, and c. A is 1, b is negative 3, c is negative 10. And we're going to do our quadratic formula. So let me write it down again. X equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac, which we already know, divided by 2a. All right, so we go through the process. X equals negative b. b is negative 3, so negative 3 plus or minus the square root of, and if we go up here, we already found the value of b squared minus 4ac. It was 49, so I'm actually going to just put that right there, which is the nice thing about doing the discriminant first. And then 2 times a is 1. And then it's just a matter of simplifying this until you get down to the final answer. So x equals negative 3 is positive 3 plus or minus the square root of 49. The square root of 49 is 7 divided by 2 times 1, which is 2. Now, we are kind of as far as we can go in terms of simplifying, except that we need to now split this into 2. And you'll notice there's this symbol, plus or minus. That tells me I need to do 2 things. I need to do 3 plus 7. Sorry about that. Let's erase that 3 right there and rewrite it. 3 plus 7 divided by 2. And 3 minus 7 divided by 2. Let's move my window over here. 3 plus 7 divided by 2 is 10 divided by 2, which is 5. So that's one solution. And 3 minus 7 is negative 4 divided by 2, which is negative 2. And so my 2 solutions are x equals 5 and x equals negative 2. So let's go and look at our graph. The graph is going to help us confirm that. So we use the following function. Let's go back. So this is how you're going to check yourself. So once you get this response, once you've done the whole quadratic formula, you can check these. But also, you could have done this, to be honest, from the very beginning. X squared minus 3x minus 10. Again, from the very beginning, if I do this, I can see that I have solutions at negative 2 and 5, which are the same exact answers we got right here, negative 2 and 5. And so I would go to my answer choices and I would check off the 2 boxes that correspond with those answers. Now, obviously, we did a different problem. So what I'm telling you is you can use the quadratic formula to solve, or you can graph, and I'm fine with either one. And on the test, you'll be able to graph as well on certain questions, but you do need to be able to identify the A, B, and the C like you see in the discriminant problems. So hopefully that helps you get through this, and that is the last lesson in this unit. So then we will be reviewing next week. So I'll post a review video early in the week, and you can test next week. All right.